not only is the technology obviously completely shifting the way we do everything in our lives, but I also, all of these TV shows that have been really popular, from flipping houses to actual realtors selling and transacting and doing all of those activities, I think is really helping shed some light on the industry itself in a good way. I think some of it's definitely like, made for TV. It's a little bit, there's some cheese factor, of course, but I think it's showing it in a way that's appealing and attractive. And to your point, there's a younger demographic coming into it, which I think is great.
Yeah, I wish there was more like home ownership formatted TV shows instead of just flipping. Because we meet so many investors that have watched these shows and they say, "I can do this," and they can kind of pull it off. They can half do it. They can do it, but maybe lose a little bit of money.
Well, I think the other great illusion is people don't realize when you have to go to the Department of Building and actually get permits, how arduous and long that process actually is. It's not, you don't wave a magic wand after you've decided to blow out a wall and then you can do it. There's an entire series of events that have to happen that are going to cost you a ton of time. And then the other thing you don't initially realize is there's a carrying cost to all of that, because you're still paying taxes, you're still paying rent, you still have to keep the lights on. There's a bit of smoke and mirrors to it. Like, you really have to dig in. There's great podcasts though, and different channels where if somebody really wants to learn investing, there's a lot of great opportunities outside of just the HGTV, like waving the magic wand and then they show you the finished product.
Yeah, exactly. Although it's funny, I actually started watching those shows. I never ever watched them ever. I guess I was just too busy, doing my own business and doing my own real estate, that I never really made time for TV, period. There was a whole, I think, generation of television that I didn't even watch. I completely missed Breaking Bad.
I never watched it.
Yeah, we're too busy doing real estate, right? I just recently started watching some of that, those flipping shows, and I was really impressed at how much you can actually learn, especially from a construction standpoint. You really have to kind of, I think it's very advantageous that we know all this stuff already, right? If you're trying to absorb it all as a beginner, then I think maybe you're not really going to get as much out of it as we would. But I find myself, kind of picking out these little details or small things that they do, that it's like, oh, that's really interesting. Actually, that's a really great time saver for renovations, or that was a really great decision for that color choice or that tile choice. And I found them to be actually pretty educational for myself. They're not going to teach you from nuts to bolts, A to Z, how to flip a house, but I do find them enjoyable nonetheless.
For sure. I mean, I definitely think they're entertainment. So that's why we watch them, which I agree that part is certainly there. I think the great thing that those types of shows have done is it gives people permission to imagine when they see these properties that are not in the best condition. They can look at it and say, in the back of their mind, they have now examples that it can be changed and it can evolve into something else. That's actually, when I talk to buyers, one of my questions is like, are you willing to buy a house that is a big project, or are you just looking for little weekend stuff to do? And then based on what they say, I can guide them much better. But then I always have them, after they find a house, I tell them to put things into one or two categories. Is this thing that you don't like about the house, is it fixed or can we change it? And then once you decide if it's fixed or if you can change it, if you can change it, then it's just a matter of figuring out, do you want to do it and how much time and money is that going to cost? And if you can't change it, like the location, is it something you're just okay living with? But I think getting to that point, these shows have really, really helped buyers just view things in a much different light than they had previously. Like, let's say 10 or 20 years ago, before these shows were so profoundly popular.
That's really, really cool. That's a great viewpoint. I like that a lot. I actually, when I'm thinking about my clients, I kind of take an exact opposite 180. I think that a lot of these flipping shows have kind of, I wouldn't say brainwashed people, but they've kind of got people to think in the very same type of design format. The house exterior needs to be gray. The kitchen needs to have an island. It needs to have a subway tile backsplash. All these things. It needs to have a rain shower head. All these things that these people see, and they say, "I need this in my house, and it needs to look like this, and it needs to be completely flipped out, and I'm not going to buy anything else. I need to have this house that's totally done for me." And I find that these, and I think you do too in your market. These are the houses that are ones that are selling for the most amount of money, and people are competing the most for these houses. It's the fixer uppers that nobody wants to touch because they all want the final product.
That's 100% true. There's a Barbara Corcoran quote. I tell all my clients this. At the end of the day, everybody wants what everybody wants, and nobody wants what nobody wants. And so if you want the deal, go find the thing that nobody wants and make it the way everybody wants it. And then you'll have an amazing deal. But like even in a downturn market, a slow market that we're in right now, those properties that are dialed to the nines and they have all of those things you've mentioned and then some, they fly off the shelf still.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Uh-huh. And those people that have, God bless those people that have enough money to be able to buy those houses. But there's also, kind of the lower tier people as well that still want those houses and won't make that compromise. And I feel really bad for them sometimes because it does take a lot of creativity to get in this market. And I need to meet a lot more of your clients, the ones that are, willing to sit down with you and really make strategies and hard decisions about what's going to work for them, what's not going to work.
Don't get me wrong. Like not every client comes around quickly. Like some of them want to do it their own way for a long period of time. And that's just the way it is. Like we've all had those challenges, but I tell my clients right out of the gate, listen, I'm going to shoot it to you straight. And sometimes you're not going to like what I have to say, but I'm going to give you my advisements, like the best advisement I can with the information that's available at the time. And like, I'm going to say it in a nice way. It's not going to be stingy, but I want to get you up to speed quickly. So you're not spinning your wheels and just grinding around looking at these homes that are just egregiously underpriced that we know are going to go way, way outside of the budget. Like I will just tell them like this thing's going to land way outside of what you and I have discussed. Like, sure, you can go look at it and sure we can write an offer, but this is where it's going to land. But I mean, as we've both been around the block, it takes a minute for some people to wrap their head around that one.
Yeah, well, fortunately, we're in a different market now, and pricing's a little bit more. I don't even know what the word is. Realistic, I guess. It used to be in our markets. I think maybe yours as well. We list everything 20% below market value. Once the buyer saw the property online, they'd say, "Oh, actually, I can afford this. Let's go see it." And then they show up with a realtor, and the realtor breaks the bad news to them and says, "Actually, this property that's listed for 800,000 is going to sell for 1.1. Are you okay with that?" And they say, "Well, we like the house so much, I think we can stretch it." These days, I think there's a lot more transparent pricing. This is what you get. This is what you're paying for. This is the amount of competition you're going to see. Make your offer accordingly. And I like that type of market, honestly.